Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here with you as always. It is nighttime, and I know, people are probably thinking, John, isn't it past your bedtime, boy? And yes, I'm doing a little evening live stream here at 10 p.m. Central. It's 11 over there on the East Coast. Still pretty early, 8 o'clock on the West Coast. Pacific, I should say. And I'm trying this because I'm having some things in the mornings now that I'm working on. So a lot of things going on here in Nashville, a lot of wonderful things. Very excited about stuff. So it's a good thing. But I thought, you know what? Why don't I do an evening program? I'm up. Maybe y'all up, and maybe we can have a conversation. Today, we're actually going to talk about. If you're familiar with the show, you know that my show is based on a lot of positivity, not the fluffy kind, but the what really helps artists move forward in through life and all the barriers and how to overcome them. We talk about positive things, but we also talk about motivational things, and we talk about what's happening in the industry of film and music and art. I talk to artists, musicians, I talk to filmmakers, I talk to dancers, I talk to people in business. It's always a wonderful thing. And that's kind of what this is about. And today we're going to talk about communication. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was because I was having a conversation with someone, um, and there's a we were talking about how sometimes you talk to people and they're not listening. And I'm sure you've been in a situation where you're talking and you're getting a blank stare from someone, and they're not, they're not there, but what are you supposed to say during that time? They go, hey, hey, hello, hello, I'm here. I mean, you just keep going and hope that they come back at some point, or maybe you ask them a question and then they'll kind of they'll hear the tone of your voice. Do you want to? Did they? And maybe that tone will kind of wake them up because they're like, oh, I have to start listening. And part of the reason is I think they're focused on something they either want to say, or something you said maybe triggered something in them that's making them think about something else. It could be so many different things. Whatever. My point is that a communication cycle has a specific way of going, right? And we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to read some stuff from a book, and I got some notes here as well. So communication isn't just talking; it's transmission. Talking is the act of sending words out into the air, but communication is only successful when those words land, are understood, and come back with clarity. If your message leaves point A but never truly arrives at point B in the way you intended, then nothing meaningful has been exchanged. I think we could all agree to that. And you run into that sometimes, right? Especially, I'm from New York, and New York people are moving, 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 right? So you'll have a conversation with somebody, and maybe it goes a little faster than you would have hoped. Maybe you wanted to get more information, or maybe you wanted to tell them something, and then you walk away and it's gone. And the communication that they gave you maybe didn't hit. It's just very, very different. Now, of course, if you're from New York and you're familiar with that type of communication, then you can get around it, and you're pretty good at boom, 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 right? But again, it's not, if it doesn't land, nothing meaningful has been exchanged, right? It's like sending a package with no confirmation of delivery. Technically, you sent it, but you don't know what actually happened. Let me just read a quick definition here. This is from Dianetics 55. It's a complete manual of human communication, and it's a really, really great definition here of communication, which I'm just going to read you a small. Obviously, it's a much, much bigger subject than I can go over here, but I thought this was really good definition. So he says communication is the interchange of ideas or particles between 2 points. More precisely, the formula of communication is cause, distance, effect, with intention and attention, and a duplication at effect of what emanated from cause. So let me break that down, right? So cause, let's say I'm cause, I'm talking to someone, distance, whatever the distance is to them, and then effect, whatever it does to that person, right? Whatever effect it has. Then obviously there's an intention there in my voice and also attention, right? I got them to pay attention to me. I have an intention to tell them this communication as cause point across distance to create an effect for them can hear me. And then the next part is very important is duplication. So there has to be duplication at effect. When it gets over there, it has to be duplicated, right? Of what emanated from me, from cause. So if you think about it, now they get it. They get my communication, right? It goes across the distance. They were effect. They get it. They duplicate it, and now they actually come back at me. Now their cause, they have the distance, right? There's the same distance, and then I'm now effect. Now I'm listening to what they have to say. This is proper communication cycle. And I know it sounds like it's a lot of different things and points, but trust me, it's a normal way of actually being. And you can get yourself to a point where you're really in a present moment when you're having a conversation with someone where they'll truly be there because your intention for them to really pay attention to you is very high. And you got their attention, you have high intention, and you can get across that distance and get that communication to really, really stick, so they can totally duplicate it. Once they duplicate it, they go, oh, okay, great. Now I'm going to formulate this. I'm going to be cause point. Then they're going to send it over back to me. I become now effect. Now I listen and I duplicate, and then I go back, we go back and forth. That is a communication cycle. Real communication requires intention and precision. It's about shaping your message so the other person can receive it the way you meant it. This is actually my own stuff. This is not what I was written, not from this book. Just so you know, I just read you the definition from there. That's it. So that means considering their perspective, their context, and even their emotional state. So when you're sending a message, you have to know all these. You have to kind of, you may not know what their emotional state is, right? You ask somebody, hey, excuse me, what time it is? And, walking down the street and they're pissed off about whatever's going on. And they'll go, get away from me, right? I'm from New York, so that's pretty typical, but not really. New Yorkers are very friendly, right? Or else. So you're not just expressing, you're translating something, right? And if the translation is off, the meaning gets distorted. Talking without that awareness often leads to confusion, assumptions, and missed connections. In this industry and entertainment of any kind, whenever I'm talking to someone, I always, I'm always, first of all, I want to make sure that I give them my full attention. Am I 100%? Not, no, I'm not. No, I do the best I can. I think I do pretty good, but I want to make sure I'm there for them, that I'm listening to them, and that I'm duplicating what they're saying, and then that I'm giving them something so they can actually reply back, so we can have an actual communications cycle, right? So, but in a lot of the networking places, you miss a lot of misconnections because communication is off. Either yours was off, theirs was off, or just overall, it just wasn't, it just didn't really flow, right? So, but having that intention, as soon as you're going into a conversation with somebody and you're starting that communication cycle, you want to then have that intention of saying, hey, I want to get this point across. I want them to understand me. I want to respect them. I want to see what they need, how I can help them. All these things have to come up, in your universe, and that, there's a lot sometimes, especially when you're meeting new, bunch of people at one time, right? It can be a little bit daunting. The second half of communication is just as important, right? What we talked about, the return trip, right? It coming back. When the message reaches point B, it needs to come back to A, right? In some form, feedback, acknowledgement, or response. That's how you confirm alignment, right? You get that back again and you're like, okay, great. We're in full alignment. We're talking. We're having a good time here. to use Dusty Slay's line, right? Um, without that loop, you're operating on guesswork. You might think you've been clear, but clarity isn't determined by the speaker. It's proven by the listener's understanding. So if you're it's not just you that has to, the person has to, you have to get it across to them. That's where intention, obviously speaking clearly, you want to say, you want to be clear on your words. All these things matter when you're having a communication cycle with someone. Jessica Rudder says, "Hey, what's up? Hey, Jessica, how are you? Thanks for stopping in. We're talking about communication today, this evening, here on my late show for me, anyway. But we're talking about communication and going from point A to point B and what happens in between and that whole duplication part. Um, so a true communication a true communication cycle is complete only when both sides are aligned on meaning. Yes, exactly. It's wild. You know, it's if they understand you and you understand them, you have a communication cycle, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be. It causes uh when people are fighting and arguing, it's a bad communication. There's something off there, right? There's either an affinity, they don't like each other, or reality, they have different realities for something, or communication, they haven't spoken in a long time, or maybe they just don't even want to talk. And what happens when you don't have any communication, right? Assumptions come up, and oh, I don't want, it just festers. The best way of handling anything is to say exactly how you feel, whether they like it or not. And trust me, I've been on both sides of that. I've gotten it and I've given it. And but you know what? At the end of the day, I hate that expression, but I always say it. At the end of the day, what really matters is that relationship. Can it be salvaged? Hopefully, yes. If it can't, well, that's fine. But at least you tried, and you know that there's a reason, and you have to move on, right? It's a back and forth process, not a one-way broadcast. The goal isn't to say something; it's to make sure something is understood and shared. That's the purpose of it, right? Um, so I got a question here. What would be the best way to get my song to play on the radio? Kind of on my mind right now. I make all this music and lore, but it's so hard to get reach. Well, Jessica, I tell you what, I do a show here daily, either in the mornings, depending on my schedule, or at night. And I talk about that constantly. I have a talent agency here in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know where you're located, but I do have one artist that I'm managing right now, and I just put a band together for her. And I'm having a writers round that I'm going to be hosting and operating starting on May 13th here in Nashville. So there's a lot of things that I can answer for you. If you'd like, you can message me right here on this platform where you're on. I think you're on LinkedIn, I believe. Message me on LinkedIn and I'll send you some information and help you out 100%. Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm looking forward to hearing your music as well. So there's an example of a communication cycle, and our voices weren't even, her voice was not here. My voice was here, right? But she asked a question. I duplicated it, right? From distance. I don't even know where she is on earth, right? I've never met Jessica Rudder. But I replied, and hopefully she duplicated. I don't know yet. I hope she does. She duplicated, and then we have a communication cycle here. She also has a freestyle tap dance. I think it's great. New percussion instrument. Wow, cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear all of it. Absolutely. So this is a back and forth process when you're talking about getting in communication with somebody, right? When you focus on that cycle instead of just speaking, conversations become more effective, relationships strengthen, and ideas actually move somewhere instead of getting lost mid sentence. You ever been in that situation where you have you're constantly in a conversation with someone, and you don't feel like they don't acknowledge you, or they just say hi to you, but there's not really a meaningful conversation there. um it's okay, what I mean. It's okay. It's not, they could be having, you never know what someone is going through. So this is why having a good communication Having good communication skills is so important because you don't know where someone is. And when you run into them and you see someone going through something, you can then say, "Hey, what's going on?" You can help them. You can alleviate whatever they're going through just by having a good communication cycle. Sometimes in the supermarket, for instance, like if I'm have to pay, I usually go on a I like the checkout stuff, like self checkout. But if I have to go on the line, I go on the line, and I always talk to whoever the cashier, the person packing the groceries are. Whatever I say, "Hey, how you doing today?" And sometimes I have to tell you that they're probably no one has spoken to them all days, or at least during their shift. And the my conversation with them is the first time that they were been out of their head. They're kind of just scanning things, and the next person comes in and they're scanning and they're just kind of going. And I come along, this little Puerto Rican guy, and I'm like, "Hey, how's your day today going?" "Oh, it's going good." I go, "Yeah. When do you get off your shift?" He goes, "Oh, I get off in another hour." "Oh, great. Good, good. Enjoy the day. It's the weather is great out there. Enjoy." "Oh, yeah, thank you. I will." Suddenly your little communication cycle just lifted someone up. It's so important to be able to do that for other humans. It's why we're here on earth. It's in order to do that, to help each other. Jessica says, she says, "Thank you so much. I'll reach out to you. This was very aligned. I feel your vibe." Thank you very much, Jessica. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And yes, send me some messages on there, and I will send you over some information. And if you're in Nashville, even better. If you're not in Nashville, then get to Nashville. um. Anyway, this is where all the music is, right? So communication cycle, man. So I wanted to read one more thing, and I read this a lot. This is the way to you can't really see it. The reflection is so high. The Way to Happiness: A Common Sense Guide to Better Living. And one of the things that I like here. Oh boy, I should have had this opened. um, Number 19 and number 20, with the 21 precepts in here. Number 19, which is, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a couple of pages, but try not to do things to others that you would not like them to do to you. Okay, so this, talking about communication cycle, this is how I approach it, right? And number 20, precept number 20 here is try to treat others as you would want them to treat you. So I take this very seriously, things in this little booklet, because when I'm talking to someone, I want to acknowledge them the way I want to be acknowledged. And if you have these precepts and you have good communication cycle, it's so much easier. It's such a blessing to be able to just be like, to have the confidence in your head that you can talk to anyone and you can have a meaningful conversation with someone and get them through whatever they're going through and get your point across and end off feeling good, like, wow, that was a great conversation. You ever had that, like, you meet somebody and you're like, man, that was the greatest conversation. I just love talking to this person. And it happens, and I'm blessed to have had it happen many, many times for me. And here's Break Time Sean says, the best communications are typically great and listening and leading with empathy. Yes, absolutely. I was just basically, that's exactly what I was just saying when you just were typing that. That's how you lead, when you're in a conversation. As soon as it starts for me, like I just want to listen, and I want to see where this person is. I want to see where I want to feel them spiritually, and I want to say, be able to say, "Oh, I hope I can help this person." Like, I hope I have something of value that I can give to this person, right? And that for me is a blessing to have that ability now, a gift from all my studies. As I read the Dynetics 55 here, the definition of communication, and the way to happiness, and all the other things that I have. Is this training that I've been doing for many, many years, during the decades of studying, in order to be able to have a good communication cycle and be able to talk to people and acknowledge, listen to them real clear, and then be able to respond to them, to give them some information that they can go away and feeling good. Very, very important thing. All right, friends. Well, this is my evening show. I'm doing this 10 p.m. on Central, 11 I guess 11 if you're on the East Coast. And in the mornings now, I have a lot of things going on these days with work and a lot of cool things going on. I'm very excited about things that are happening right here, but I have to open up my mornings because I have to be at places early. And I also, go to the gym, and I do a lot of things in the morning. So I'm trying this hour out to see how this works. I'll always be here sometime during the day. You could always go to my website, johnhenrysoto.com, and you can check out some of the content there. But I want to thank you all for tuning in this evening. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Jessica, for your comments. I appreciate you. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I will see you all tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Central. And I hope you're all doing well. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you all. And as always, peace.